Welcome to another English Sparkling with Tweedy video. Uncharted territory today. I don't know how easy it is to get a sense of the proportions of this first ever 50 centilitre bottle of English sparkling wine. I believe this would have been illegal under the EU. This was something that Mark Driver, the boss of Rathfinny, the founder, was trying to do for some time to recreate the old pint-sized bottles of champagne. Now, of course, 50 centilitres does not equate to a pint. This is the closest he could manage based on manufacturers that were available. So it's a sort of metric pint, if you will. But I think this is quite a nice size. It's a good compromise between half bottles, which often seem a little bit mean. You get sort of, what, 2 glasses, perhaps 3 out of that, and then you're done. There are times when a full-size bottle is a bit over the top, so possibly a good compromise for some situations. This is quite a limited run. I think each of these bottles are actually numbered. This is bottle 47 of 800. Quite a rarity. I bought 6 of these. I was so excited about the concept. I'm going to see if it's possible to sabrage this, because I'm guessing nobody has done this before, possibly for good reason. Maybe the dynamics of this different size bottle mean that that's actually quite a bad idea, but I'm going to try anyway. Could go horribly wrong. It is actually raining. It's a pretty grim day, really, but I'm fairly pleased with that. There's just such delightful bottles, these. I really like the shape, the sort of curve of the neck there, and the size of it. I don't know how well that's coming across on screen. Perhaps, you know, if I put it too close to the camera, it will just look like a normal size bottle and you won't see what all the fuss is about. There is the top. Landed very nicely in my apple tree. This is not, in fact, the first bottle of this I have had. As I said, I bought 6 of these, couldn't wait the other day, opened one up already. It is the 2020 vintage, and I think it's their classic Cuve, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay and Pinot Meunier listed in that order. I'll put the sabrage on screen there if I can find that. This has a lovely nose. Red apple and red berry fruit, and there's a lovely sort of cleanliness to that. I can't think of a better word for it. Real sort of purity of those two fruit characters. That is delicious. It's really fruity. There definitely is a light mineral touch to that, but not a huge amount. I think the dosage always tends to be on the low side at Rathfinny. That's their sort of house style, but the amount of fruit character in that is spectacular. Really sort of luscious, red berries, red apple. It's certainly got a little bit of zing to it, but compared to perhaps some other English sparkling wines, perhaps a tiny bit lower on the zing, I would say. And I think that works really well here. I'm left just thinking about that beautiful, really clean, really perfect, pristine fruit, and it's not being sort of overpowered by really kind of intense acidity. Autolytic character is there in a sort of relatively subtle way, but it's certainly it's a background, which I think is kind of how it should be. I don't want something that's overwhelmingly bready. I'd much rather be appreciating the fruits. There is sort of light, almost veering on the cakey side perhaps of brioche there, slightly reminiscent of sort of madeleine, that kind of sponge cake. We have a little bit of hedgerow there, maybe, possibly veering into a tiny hint of blackberry, but in a sort of soft way, maybe more raspberry than blackberry. Maybe a bit of strawberry, some red plums, perhaps. Really, really nice mouthfeel. It is a pleasure to roll over the tongue over and over. A decent finish. I wouldn't say hugely long, but it's quite a mouth-watering kind of Moorish sort of a wine, so it's quite tempting to just take the next sip rather than linger too long over any one previous sip's finish. Very fine bubbles. It's like popping minute bubble wrap on the tongue. It's very satisfying sort of texture to that. Of course, one of the interesting things about these different bottle size formats is that they age at different rates. Smaller bottles, I was talking the other day with that Night Timber half bottle, they tend to age quite quickly. Larger bottles tend to age slightly more slowly. So we have an aging profile here, which will be somewhere in between the half bottles that we're more familiar with and the regular sized bottles. And right now that is absolutely lovely, really delightful. Fruity, really nicely balanced, just a delight. Yes, there we go. 50 centilitre bottles of Rathfinny, the first that I'm aware of any traditional method sparkling wine, certainly the first of any English sparkling wine, and quite possibly the first person to sabrage one.